Hey, welcome to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. And this is a show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. It's been a minute, so we're going to hurry up and hop right into it. You know, I don't do this show by myself. My co host, A. Willie. What's going on with you, brother?
Man, it's been a minute. Your boy was down with some health stuff, but they say once again it's on, man. We in here.
All right, just hopping right into it, man. Hey, Willie hit me up after he started feeling better, wanted to talk. All Star Weekend, of course. Women's hoop, college, and we'll dig into Unrivaled. The 3v3 season has been pretty interesting, but the All Star Weekend just went by this past weekend. Um, I didn't really watch a whole lot of it, to be honest with you. All Star Weekend hasn't been the same probably since the '90s for mine. Now, you had a few eras where Aaron Gordon, Vince Carter, different things like that. But now Matt McClung is pretty much taking the show, jumping over cars and everything like that. But hey, Willie, just give your thoughts about All Star Weekend.
You know, it was out there, and it's interesting, man. I think number one needs to make an executive order. As we in these times we keep talking about executive orders and whatnot. Um, Adam Silver needs to make one. Mac McClung has saved All Star Saturday Night 2 or 3 straight years, so he needs to bring all the teams together and say, which one of y'all are going to give Mac McClung a 2 year guaranteed deal? Put him on the bench, bring him out in spot minutes, let him be a cult figure like a walk on in college that everybody is cheering for to get buckets in the last seconds of a game. But this dude has won 3 dunk contests in a row, 3 consecutive dunk contests. And OG, the dude has played 3 NBA games. So Adam Silver, I need you to go ahead and make that happen and say to some of the teams, somebody's got to get this dude a guaranteed deal for a couple years, man, because what this dude has done, because again, we know that the vast majority of these contracts that these players sign, the money comes from the TV revenue generated from these TV deals. So take care of that dude, man.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. I mean, they did the new format where they had the Team Kenny, Team Chuck, Team Candace, all that colorful stuff. You know, I it just still, man, it's gonna be hard um, to get your modern day superstars to really want to rev up and compete. LeBron waited to the last second to decide that he wasn't going to play. Hogged up another spot that could have went to a young rising star or whatever. I mean, that would have been more than happy and willing to play. But I don't know. It's just watered down. I mean, in the player empowerment era, it's two sides to the coin. You get one, of course, they get these nice contracts. They're getting a bigger piece of the pie, which is rightfully so. But then on the other hand, the fans are getting cheated. That's starting even during the regular season with load management and different things of that nature. Not really knowing when your favorite player is going to play. That to me ultimately would lead to the reason why the viewership probably is down. Although I'm not even a big numbers buff when it comes to that, because they can tell us anything they want about viewership.
Right.
We'll never know the truth. But if you don't know who's playing, or if your favorite players are not playing, no, you can care less about tuning in. So that's been my whole reasoning for not even watching a lot of the NBA this year. Um, anything else you want to add about All Star before we move on?
Let me say this, man. Shout out to our boy Darren Worrell when I do this. So I just want to say this real quick, man. What I think is happening now, OG, I think, man, getting to a point where Be careful what you wish for. You two, we're going to talk about that. You posted something about be careful what you wish for as it relates to the W. I want to ask your opinion on that. But I'm going to say as it relates to this style of play. Style of play times in the All-Star game mirrors the style of play that we see a lot in the regular season. People are now scoffing at the number of threes that are taken and all those things. Be careful what you wish for. And I say this from playing, working in the league myself, so being responsible, having a hand in the growth of the game. And as we look at the growth of the game, what do you do for the growth of the game? You want the game to be more accessible to everybody. So you make the rules where the barriers of entry aren't as high as they used to be, right? So when we in this era of threes and layups, again, and I don't want to discredit guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, because they are amazing, amazing shooters. What they do is on a different level. But we also have a game, and you can attest to this, brother. We also have a game, you know this from a player and from coaching yourself. It used to be a time, and I'm going to sound like an old man screaming at the clouds, where you wasn't shooting that thing unless you could shoot that thing. Now, we got people pulling up 3-on-1, 3-on-2 breaks, pulling up from three. They are not shooters, missing the shot and running back down the floor. They don't look at the coach. They don't do anything. So what that tells you is that it is not acceptable for anybody to shoot that shot. So the barriers of entry have now been lowered. And what we got going on is people tune in to see professionals do things that the normal person can't do. Now they're rebelling against that. You ask for the barriers of entry to be lower, less physicality, more threes, more layups. These are things that anybody can do. And it's to a point where it's inconsequential if they make it or not. This is what you asked for. This is what we wanted to grow the game. Now you're seeing the remnants of that. And when you take out dribbling laterally with the ball and being able to do things like a magician, because we got so many screens with straight line drivers, you take creativity out. When you take out the mid range, you take all that athleticism, all that creativity, all that we saw, you legislate that out the game. And now you're seeing the people are saying, you see this in football as well. Tom Brady, the GOAT. Man, the game is softer now and all that because you're making the barriers of entry as you're trying in an attempt to grow the game. You're making the barriers of entry, you're lowering them. And so now people aren't seeing these superhuman people out here playing, man. When you go to the professional ranks, you want to see people do stuff that you can't do. So you gotta be careful what you wish for.
No doubt. I mean, for me, to put my last little bow on it is that when you talk about the style of play and the way the game is played, ultimately, the NBA has went to a more European style of play, which is fine. But we don't play. They just recently started training and playing like that in the U.S. That's why most of the European players come over here and thrive in that style of play because they've been playing like that their entire career, which is now, like you mentioned, we got players who can't even shoot the three, looking to shoot the three, and different things of that nature. But like I said, with them changing the style of play and going to a more higher scoring European style, it suits certain players more than it does others. And I think in the future, I even when I go to look at high school games, it's all over the place now. Like, I mean, because
All over the place, brother.
and most of it looks like open gym.
Yeah,
If we're being serious, but that's how the NBA looks now. Like in spurts, you see some competitiveness and everything like that, but it's more open gym, free flowing. Anybody putting it up, anybody doing anything. So, we'll tune. I'll probably we'll tune our interest back towards the playoffs. But moving along, we'll start with college hoops, man. Just to get a current top 25. Notre Dame number 1, Texas number 2, UCLA number 3, USC number 4, UConn number 5, South Carolina number 6, LSU number 7, Ohio State number 8, North Carolina number 9, TCU number 10, Duke at 11, Kansas State 12, NC State 13, Kentucky 14, Tennessee 15, Oklahoma 16, West Virginia 17, Alabama 18, Baylor 19, Georgia Tech 20, Maryland at 21, Michigan State at 22, Creighton at 23, and Oklahoma State and Illinois round out 24 and 25. Now, over the weekend, the latest big matchup was South Carolina in Connecticut, which was a very good game for UConn. Not so much South Carolina, but I'm not one of those that like dump down on South Carolina because without a doubt, they played the toughest schedule in women's college basketball. And the thing about it is this: the good coaches, they're gonna run their team through the ringer in the regular season to get ready for the tournament. So when the tournament comes, there's probably no situation you haven't faced, and that's what I see in South Carolina. Although I do have some concerns, going forward with South Carolina because they're not always getting production at a certain starters. And it's like for mine, how long do you leave Joyce Edwards and sometimes Fuwali on coming off the bench? I mean, I know you need firepower, but at the same time, can't keep affording to come out with slow, lackluster starts or the same with slow first half. So that's going to be something to see who picks it up out of that starting five. But turning the page over to UConn, AZ Fudd, I mean,
Man, when she is available, they are different.
yeah, and like I made a post about it saying a lot of people probably forgot because health has killed UConn for the last 2-3 years. Like it's a lot of people or a lot of teams that probably wouldn't even be getting talked about as much if those two was healthy throughout the duration. But hats off to Gino. Still putting in work. I don't even think that this UConn team is. I don't think they're the most talented roster in the top 10. I think as I mentioned when I mentioned the rankings, I've been a fan favorite of Notre Dame because I like Hannah Hidalgo, but I think probably every team in the top 10, probably excluding TCU, and even then that could be questionable. But I think the other 9 teams, North Carolina, they okay, but Ohio State I think has a great roster. LSU has a better roster than what they show. Of course, South Carolina is loaded. USC is loaded. UCLA, Texas, and Notre Dame. But I still, they're going to be in the hunt, and I think health is going to play a role with them as they go. I think if Paige and AZ stay healthy, UConn is definitely going to be in the hunt. But I really think it's a toss up at the end of the day. I'm gonna pass the rock over to you and give your thoughts on what's been going on in the women's college game.
First off, man, I'm gonna tell you, there have been plenty of times to your point when I'm making a choice. I tell our fans and our people that walk with us on this journey when I'm watching these games, man. Like I have 3 screens mounted, and then of course I have my iPad if I need a fourth one, and I have a really big TV, and then 2 just big TVs right next to each other. And oftentimes, women's college basketball is on my main TV. And it's because, like you said, you get these compelling, yes, you're going to get the compelling conference matchups when LSU plays the South Carolina, Texas plays LSU, we get the SEC is loaded. You're going to get those for these ranked matchups. But what I like about women's basketball is that, man, be right in the middle of your conference too. And especially like you just mentioned with South Carolina playing in the SEC, all these really good teams in the SEC. Oklahoma is also another ranked team. You got all these ranked teams in the SEC. And then in the middle of your conference season, a non-conference battle can break out. UConn can play South Carolina, like we've talked about in previous episodes. y'all need to keep rocking with us. Tennessee and UConn used to play twice a year as if they were in the same conference. So that's what I like about women's basketball. To your point, these teams are not scared to play each other. And so it makes these matchups compelling. And the fact that people stay in school, so it makes it even more compelling. So we know the backstory of AZ Fudd. We know the backstory of Paige Beckers. We know the backstory of Juju, who's a sophomore. Again, if you juxtapose that with the women's game, Juju wouldn't be in school right now. Lauren Betts just announced that she's coming back. So we win when we see this type of stuff. So with that being said, I think it's interesting to see, to your point, you touched on with South Carolina, brother. Um, and not everybody can do this. Shout out to what Coach Staley's been able to establish. People can't impose their will, and the way that South Carolina is when they play defense and they execute on the defensive end is have game will travel. They can go to your house, even when they're not making shots. They can go to your house and beat you. They can beat you when they're not necessarily playing their best. However, you can stand up to that. You don't allow them to below you. That's a term I like to use. In the beginning of a game where they just blow you off the court with their defensive pressure and their being relentless, crashing the boards, stay in the games because, to your point, they're not getting that production from the backcourt and the wings as much as they should. UConn's able to withstand that. And then the thing that I found that was interesting, when they were able to withstand that, they started beating South Carolina at their own game in South Carolina's house, playing in transition, forcing South Carolina to one shot, getting out of transition, scoring in transition. And then at times, UConn was dominating the offensive glass. So that's, again, a South Carolina staple. So that was interesting to me to watch, man. The other thing that was interesting to me to watch too, UCLA had a little bit of an excuse because in their game after the battle for my city, LA, which USC won, and they're gonna do it again in March at the last conference game. USC won that last one, first one that we just saw. Game, both of those teams struggled. UCLA and USC both struggled to get conference wins. Now, UCLA had a little bit of an excuse against Michigan State, and they got pushed. But they had a little bit of an excuse with Lauren Betts being out. She was in a walking boot that game. But Washington almost beat USC after that. So it's interesting when you see, to your point, what you're talking about with scheduling. The Big Ten has some teams, when you start talking about USC, UCLA, Ohio State, of course, Michigan State also too. But that's that SEC gauntlet. It's like you can't afford to invest all of your emotions in this huge conference tilt because the next game you got another dog coming in. And it seemed like USC and UCLA, after that emotional battle for LA game, both came out flat against Michigan State and Washington, respectfully. So to your point, I feel like that's something to watch down the stretch when you start seeing these SEC teams playing all these ranked teams that they play. South Carolina constantly scheduling up. So it's going to be interesting down the stretch to see that, man.
No, without a doubt. I mean, some other games that took place outside of South Carolina and UConn. The Longhorns got it done against LSU, 65-58. Madison Booker finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Didn't shoot particularly well, but closed out down the line, hitting free throws. Nisa Morrow had a monster game for LSU, 15 points, 20 rebounds. But even in that game, it's typical LSU, man. They were up, got stale in the half court, didn't get too much production down the stretch, and allowed Texas to come back in and make a comeback and then close out the game. I want to see more. They have enough with Flage, Michaela, and Anisha to get it done in the half court for LSU. But I even texted you and told you when that was going on, like for Mulkey to be a point guard Coach Kim Mulkey to be a former point guard, I would expect to see better execution. And that even sometimes with South Carolina, with Don being, now even though she was the ultimate scorer, but I would expect to see more execution in the half court in certain stretches of the game. And that's to me where LSU always gets out of control, start flinging up shots. I don't know. Morrow is effective at the high post and the low post, so there's no reason why she shouldn't be getting the ball. She can catch at the elbow, turn, face, knock down shot. She can get it with her back to the basket by the rim. So there's no excuse why she doesn't get more touches than what she does. A lot of her points are coming off offensive, most of the time crashing the boards, which is it should be a combination of both touches and putbacks and things of that nature. Like I said, she's good from 15 feet and in, so it's no reason why she shouldn't be getting it. And even with Michaela Williams, her game is more than just jump shots. It could
No
be.
question.
It could be.
No question.
Because she showed flashes in spurts. But like I said, a lot of times it's chaotic. If LSU is not forcing turnovers, getting out of transition, they find themselves in certain stretches of the game struggling to score. So that's, just my take on that game. And then the other game was Duke and the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame. Hannah Hidalgo, did what she normally does. Finished with 19 points, 4 assists. Hometown hero for us, Maddie Westbeld. She's from Kettering, Ohio.
I love Maddie Westbeld.
She had 11 points, shot 2 for 3 from the three. Sonia Cintron, she 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. And then Olivia Miles finished with 9.7 rebounds. It's at times a collective when you talk about Notre Dame. I mean, they have, of course, the stars, but then they have the perfect role players and co-stars to get it done. And they're gonna be really, they're gonna be my favorite. And I forget, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna pass the rock to you, but I'm gonna look it up. The big girl from North Carolina, for Notre Dame. I gotta track her name, but she has tremendous size. She didn't do a good job finishing around the bucket, but she definitely can be effective. They don't need somebody to be a dominant scorer or anything like that, but to defend the rim, rebound, and stuff like that, I think it's going to be vital for them. But hey Willie, this give me your thoughts on Notre Dame.
Love Notre Dame, man. From the beginning when we first started talking about women's college basketball, like they're one of my favorites because, when we talk about LSU and we talk about South Carolina, part of the reason why tough for them at times to execute in a half court is because the point guard has to take over the game. Somebody from the perimeter, whether that's a point guard or whether that's a big wing, when you have to execute down the stretch, whether there's plays that are called or somebody that can just make something happen, you have to have enough gravity to whether it's making something happen for yourself or creating easier looks for somebody else. You have to have the ability to do that. And so, to your point, sometimes when we watch LSU, when they have certain configurations as it relates to the lineup, same with South Carolina, they struggle with that. Well, they have 2 point guards, and they are elite at creating for themselves, but really elite for creating for others. Man, they don't struggle with that at all. And the impact that it has on the team, like you just said, they come at you as well. Golden State, when they first start winning championships, strength in numbers, that's Notre Dame. Because when you have 2 elite point guards and you watch Notre Dame play, sometimes when you have 2 elite point guards playing together, there's a struggle over who's going to control the game, who's going to control the team. That's not the case with Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles. They really thrive playing with each other and playing off of each other. What that does is that forces the rest of the team to play like we don't care who gets all the credit from an offensive perspective. Because sometimes Leah King is out there balling for Notre Dame, balling. And so she sometimes is the leading scorer. Of course, Sonia Cintron is a bucket. Maddie Westbeld is just, when they have their full complement of players. Kassan Prosper, man, when Notre Dame has their full complement of players, and luckily we're going to keep praying for help for them, they have that now. Man, the fact that those 2 point guards share the wealth, and then Hannah Hidalgo sets the tone defensively, man, like, and if your lead dog is out there guarding like that, and it's not just steals, right? We know when we look at players, OG, and we look at teams, there are people that can get gaudy steal numbers from the backcourt, and people make the error of saying they're a great defensive player. No, they just get a bunch of steals. And sometimes they put your defense in an emergency situation because they're gambling for steals. Well, Hannah Hidalgo will get her steals, but she is a menace on the ball as well. So being in the right place positionally, man, when your lead dog is out front doing that, it forces the rest of the team to do it also. Notre Dame is tough, man.
Yes, indeed. I think Kate Koval was the name that I was looking for. Nice size, like I said, 6'5", from the Ukraine. Like I said, that team, that's all you need is active bigs to take up space and make certain things happen. But it's definitely going to be a free for all. I think with a lot of those teams in the top 10, when we talk about who potentially is going to win a national championship, I think certain teams have looked better than others in some stretches. But March Madness is definitely going to be real interesting as the regular season closes out. Just to hop right over into the women's pro basketball, pro women's basketball. We had talked earlier. I made the post last night about Marina Mabry requesting a trade, and it was denied by Connecticut Sun. It's just been an interesting, overall in the WNBA with the offseason and how everything has went. But you request to leave a team, you go to another team, they gut that team. Now trying to do what's best for her, but Connecticut Sun said not so fast. And right now, currently with the Connecticut Sun, they don't have a lot in the cupboard right now. I mean, I think Natasha Cloud is over there in free agency. But other than that, I mean, you got Marina Mabry at the end of the day, but they got some work cut out for them, especially after they had a tremendous amount of success over the last 3 to 5 years, but obviously couldn't get it done. So they made a lot of changes, even including the coach. So what do you think about that situation, Hey Willie?
It's going to be interesting, man, because, Natasha got moved in a trade. And, she said something about that with Phoenix because apparently they told her that she wasn't going to be moved and she got moved. So you got potentially your starting backcourt place that maybe they don't want to be. That's so interesting, man, to me. And, I love Marina Mabry. I text you about her all the time. Marina Mabry can play on my team at any time. Because you need, even when you have a championship caliber team, she takes and makes big shots. But the other thing is you got to have one. You got to have an irritant. You got to have somebody that ain't scared to put their nose in the fray. And Marina Mabry does that. So for me, you got to have one of those. So she can play for me at any time. And if you're a contender, of course you want a Marina Mabry. And I personally think that she would be even more effective when she's in a situation where all she has to do are the things that she's good at. And she has the capacity to do other things, but sometimes we see her in situations where maybe it's asked of her to do too much. But I'm telling you, man, that is going to be very, very interesting because the other thing that I'm starting to see as well, you talked about it earlier as it relates to the NBA, player empowerment. So are we also seeing something where not only Connecticut just came out and said, yeah, moving Marina Mabry is not in our best interest, meaning they haven't started entertaining trade packages for her, or if they did, they're not getting anything that they feel like warrants what Marina brings to the court. So now Connecticut stand for the rest of the league. Hey, you know what? You talk about you players want to be traded. You want to be traded when you want to be traded. You want to be here when you want to be here. Are we going to make a stand for the rest of the league? And not only are the current teams watching this situation, in my estimation, you know who else is watching this situation? The teams that are about to come online soon. We just had an announcement that the Cleveland Rockers are going to come back. Portland's coming. Toronto's coming. Obviously, the Valkyries are playing this year in the Bay, so they're watching too as it relates to this new growth that we're seeing. All of this is important. I think about this a lot because I've worked in roster construction capacities. I think about this a lot because the league is signed to a 1-year deal right now because the new collective bargaining agreement comes at the end next season. So we're really looking at this player empowerment. What's going to happen when we have this influx of teams? What's going to happen, brother, if we have this influx of money coming into the league? We also got, again, player empowerment. We got Caitlin Clark's agent speaking up and saying, yeah, what she has generated just in 1 year in the W is not even close to what she's being paid. And you think that's by coincidence that that's being mentioned when we only got 1 year left of this current collective bargaining agreement? So, man, this situation in Connecticut with their potential starting backcourt has so many tentacles and so many ramifications as we look at what's coming next, man.
Indeed, indeed. Just give you the rundown on that Connecticut Sun roster. Currently, you got Natasha Cloud, Tina Charles, Diamond DeShields. Those are just J.C. Sheldon was in that trade. Those are just the notables. Lindsey Allen also is over there. So we'll see what's to come. We won't really dive too much into because we missed so much talking about the off season in the W, but we definitely are doing a good preview as the season comes near. Of course, that'll open up on the 16th of May, and we definitely will be ready for that. But no, we'll dissect it bits and pieces as things come along. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting as you talk about the Caitlin Clark situation because she's definitely impacted the W a lot. You know, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. It's a fact. You know, I've been to games. I know. So
Absolutely.
you
No
know,
question.
and now you know, we might as well dive into it. I mean, the Fever have put together a much better roster compared to what they had last year. Of course, you're talking about the addition of DeWanna Bonner, Jaylen Brown, Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham, Natasha Howard, Brianna Turner. I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen with Erica Wheeler. I don't even see no room.
Oh
So
man,
to
no,
speak.
no. Yeah, Erica is in. Man, where did she go? Erica Wheeler is now in Seattle.
Okay. Well, they haven't updated
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. Well, perfect because I've been waiting on that. Most of the places they've had the rosters updated, but yeah, I like this team. You know, I think still you talk about backing up Caitlin Clark. That'll be the key. I think they, far as front court, I think they pretty much got it together. And me personally, my favorite out of all this, who I want to see kind of flourish, is Jaylen Brown because she shows some flashes. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that Indiana they need like good two-way players like that's young that can run and get up and down the court. And I mean, she's 6'1". I mean, so
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
has great size. But Sophie Cunningham is going to be interesting. I mean, I think she bring that grit, that attitude. You know, I was kind of disappointed that I didn't see the DeWanna Bonner thing happening. Only because, like, yeah, I mean, I think it must be a strong connection with her and Coach Stephanie White. And I didn't think about that at all. I never even seen that coming. I was assuming probably like most of the WNBA crowd that she was going to go wherever AT went.
18.
That
Yep.
was
Yep.
that was the thought, but here we are, and I think they got a lot to be happy about in Indiana. Of course, I'm in Ohio, bordering right over in Indiana, so that it's always been my fanfare. My favorite team was always the Liberty, but I always rooted for the Fever because it was right next door, and it was easy to go to games. And then Tamika Catchings during that era,
Facts.
yeah. But it's gonna be a lot of expectations, so it's gonna be interesting. The one thing I will say before I get your thoughts is that Caitlin Clark has been just working on her game, golfing, being quiet, and it's unfortunate that a lot of her fan base, and I'm a part of the fan base, but I'm a part of the other side. And when I say that, she don't need no defending, man. Like her game speaks for itself.
Right.
She no player out there is the saint that you want to believe or think they are. If you go to pro games and you've ever been close to the court, it's not the most friendliest atmosphere by anybody. They all talk trash. They all say and do
Absolutely.
things when you're not even paying attention. So she needs no defending. I think this year her game is definitely gonna be better. And that's saying a lot because I still think she had an outstanding rookie year. And I mean, the
He
numbers and
absolutely did.
accolades speak for itself. But she needs no defending. Not the way people like to defend her or anything. She don't need that. I like the fact though how she approached the offseason. We're gonna get into Unrivaled, but just resting and working on your game, especially after coming off a long collegiate career, I think is gonna pay dividends at the end. And then now with them having depth in the front court, I think is going to be beneficial. And of course, getting Kelsey Mitchell back, which was no surprise really. I joked and trolled on Facebook, but I mean, I didn't see after I seen all the other people signing at other places, there was no need for her to go anywhere. I mean, so just your thoughts real quick on what the Fever did this offseason.
I thought the Fever did a great job in the offseason. One of the things that we used to talk about a lot is, having somebody is a premium position, just like it's a premium position in NBA. It's a premium position in the WNBA to have someone with size that can make things happen. And man, people look at DeWanna Bonner, and sometimes people forget because she looks young in the face and all those things. People forget how long she's been rocking. But man, she can make things happen. And even though she's thin, she ain't soft, right? DeWanna Bonner is always sometimes initiating the contact. So to get her a versatile player like that can take some pressure off of their backcourt in terms of creating and doing things, and a person with some size, I think that's really, really important. Now, the other winner with all the offseason additions, I think for Indiana, is Aaliyah Boston, man, because now it makes it where she doesn't have to work as hard to get some of the buckets that she maybe had to work a little bit harder than she did in previous seasons, even with Caitlin Clark on the floor. So I feel like this is a big season. This is a big offseason for Aaliyah Boston. We talk a lot about Unrivaled, so I watch her a lot because maybe she's not, for some of the people that are playing in Unrivaled, the stage that they have, they really don't have help defense and all those things, is help to showcase other aspects of their games that maybe they don't show when they're with their WNBA teams. For other people, maybe they're not showing some of the things that they're working on. So the one thing I know with Aaliyah Boston is I know she works. She's definitely working because she's playing in Unrivaled, and they have player development mavens down there as head coaches, which is great. So I have no doubt that she's working on her stuff. But to me, Indiana is going to do what we think they're going to do. Aaliyah Boston has to have, whether that's, and I'm not saying that she can have that impact, that improved play, and not necessarily score more points, brother. Because if you look at their team, they have more offensive firepower. So her points may not go up, but she may be more impactful if she has the offseason that we are anticipating. So I love what Indiana did. Um, you know, being from the coast, what the Sparks did. I'm also looking, it's interesting too to look at them to see. I know I've said what's the direction because they got those young, those that the Sparks may have the one of the deepest front courts WNBA. Of course, they got their young studs. Then they got big guard. They got Azare Stevens, who is showing out and unrivaled as well. The Sparks have a really nice front court. Now you add Kelsey Plum to the mix. They are literally in win now mode, but they also have to develop Rakia Jackson and then get Cameron Brink back from injury. Absolutely think NBA example. Look at Ananobi when he was in Toronto. He guarded LeBron when LeBron was in Cleveland, and LeBron was on that streak of 10 straight NBA Finals in the Eastern Conference. Ananobi was guarding LeBron on an island. Fred VanVleet was getting all of that playoff experience when DeMar DeRozan was the best player on the team when Toronto was making their run. Pascal Siakam was getting all of that experience as well when Toronto was making that run, getting beat by Cleveland, but those young players were getting that playoff experience. You insert Kawhi and Norman Powell into the equation, now some things break their way and they're able to go to the NBA Finals. So those moments weren't too big for those young players because they were already getting that playoff experience. So to me, that's what you want to do with Rakia Jackson and Cameron Brink. You want them to get playoff experience so when they are ready to make that step and really be contenders, you're not looking at them and saying, well, damn, this is the first time y'all been here. So now we got to go through the rite of passage so your ass can know what it's like to play in the playoffs because it's different than playing in the regular season. Even in the W, is the playoff intensity is different. So they play hard every night and all that. The playoffs are different. So you want your young players to get that playoff experience as soon as possible. If it's because once they enter into their prime, you don't want them getting playoff experience now that they're in their prime because you're wasting those prime years. Get that early, get that out of the way, so when they get to their primes, they're now ready to contend. They ready to do big things. So I like what the Sparks did getting Kelsey Plum. I think that was a big addition.
Yeah, I've made noise about that, a lot. I mean, because I think it's going to be a fun team to watch in LA. And especially if somehow they was to manage to get their way and Paige make her way over there, because I know that's where she want to go. But we'll talk about that another day, another time. Getting into Unrivaled. If you're not familiar with Unrivaled, it's a professional women's 3v3 league consisting of 6 teams: the Lunar Owls, the Laces, Rose Basketball Club, Vinyl Basketball Club, Miss Basketball Club, and Phantom Basketball Club. Currently, the Lunar Owls is undefeated, 8-0, and the Laces are 5-3, and Rose Basketball Club is 4-4. Vinyl 3-5, the Miss 2-6, and the Phantom 2-6. No surprise to me with the Lunar Owls being undefeated, especially with them having the best player in the league. And she's definitely played like that from beginning to end. And we're talking about Nafisa Collier, who also
human baby doll.
Yeah, who I call the babyface assassin, who also won their 1v1 tournament for $200K. It's been a fun and entertaining league for me from a basketball pure standpoint. For me, I like it because, as you mentioned earlier when we talked about Azare Stevens, is you get a chance to see players actually being competitive but working on their game at the same time. Because, of course, when it's only 3 players out there, you're going to have more offensive touches and different things like that, especially with it being full court. There's not being, a traditional 3v3 setting with just half court. So, I've enjoyed it. Really, the only thing I was concerned about is the wear and tear on players and different things like that, especially with the season only being, some months away. We less than 100 days from the WNBA season now. So that was my only concern. But other than that, I've been tuned in for the most part, seeing a lot of different things from a lot of different players. But like I say, the Lunar Owls, Cameron Brink, Alicia Gray, Courtney Williams, Skylar Diggins Smith, who's played phenomenal in the Unrivaled League. Shakira Austin, who undoubtedly to me, if she could ever remain healthy, we would be talking about her more often than not.
Time out. Let me say this, brother. I got to say this. I was going to talk about her because I was going to throw you your respect. That's in our chat when we talk about these players a lot. That's somebody that you talk about a lot. So I wanted to give you your respect on that because, man, when she is out there and she's healthy and all that, she has really, really played well in this. So I just wanted to give you your respect on that because that she's one of the players that you talk about a lot offline when you and I are talking about the W players we like and all that. So respect to you, man.
No, I appreciate it. And then to round out that roster, of course, Nafisa Collier. But when you talk about man, the way Skylar Diggins has been playing, and then you got Nafisa Collier who does it does everything. And the main thing is her defense, but she does it inside and out. And then Courtney Williams, a perfect player in one-on-one situations in the 3v3 setting. You got Alicia Gray, the same. So this been they've played to their potential. Now, when you talk about the Laces, you have Jackie Young, Tiffany Hayes, Kayla McBride, Kate Martin, Stephanie Dawson, and AT. Now, they've been down some players, and then last night, Benaja Laney Hamilton
Oh man, one
stepped
of our
in.
favorites, right?
Yeah, she stepped in, scored 23 points, and hit the game winner. And it just got there. So it's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs start to shape out. But like I said, it's been an entertaining league. I wasn't really thrilled about watching bigs, so to speak, unless they were going to be shooting jump shots. I didn't, of course, Angel Reese plays how she plays, and she had a great game. Um, not her last game out, but it's more so about me. I like to see players working on their game and doing different things in a different setting, and hopefully bringing that back to their WNBA team. But I like the league. And it's going to be interesting to see which way it go. I know I've been reading and seeing different things, every day. But I think they'll look and making improvements because at the end of the day, it's a league for pro women, by pro women. So I think they'll make the necessary changes to improve it in whichever they see fit. Another league going on that I don't really keep up with a lot, but it's the 5v5 setting is the Athletes Unlimited league as well. You can actually catch their games on the WNBA League Pass channel. On the site or the app. You can watch those games. I've tuned into a few, but it's been rough bouncing around from women's college basketball and then watching Unrivaled and still trying to stay in a loop in other sports sectors. But you can definitely catch that, like I said, on the WNBA League Pass.
Izzy
Yep.
Harrison has been acting up in Fleets Unlimited. She's been playing well, man.
Yeah, I see her. She been talking to her. She been talking. Because a lot of, I don't know, a lot of pro women players go through injuries and stretches where they may not have their best seasons or anything like that. I seen Lexi Brown, popping her stuff because she, the last few years she has struggled with health and different things like that, which is no fault of her own.
Period.
So it kind of
Right.
make people forget about you or talk down about you or whatever. So I get it, but it's gonna be interesting to see. Just to round out this episode, just your thoughts on Unrivaled and what you think.
Man, it's been great. Like I love watching Unrivaled. It was interesting watching in the 1v1 tournaments, the bigs in the 1v1, watching Aaliyah Edwards, in particular, and then Shakira Austin, like watching the bigs. Azare Stevens, like watching the bigs has really been compelling. But again, man, to your point about the human baby doll, man, let the smooth taste fool you. Similar to Dewana Bonner, they may be have a thin frame. Man, Nafisa Collier is out there buffaloing people. OG, like like I watch people wilt as it relates to her initiating the contact. And even though she's thin and all, you wouldn't think that when you watch her play. It's amazing to me, and that's a mentality that you can't teach. I mean, you see bigs that have the requisite frame to be physical, and they're not as physical as Nafisa Collier. Man, and then the other thing I'll say too, like you said, Courtney Williams is playing well. Obviously, Fee is doing what she's doing. Kayla McBride is having a hell of a season, a hell of a season. So it's no coincidence when you see those Minnesota players doing what they're doing in Unrivaled. It's no coincidence that they are two best teams in the league, and I wouldn't expect anything otherwise when we see the league, the WNBA commence in May. So yeah, man, it's great, and like you said, like I like to see the player development piece. I like to see the confidence that these players will bring as they move forward, being able to display other areas of their game, man. So it's great, but like you said, the health part, that we really got to keep an eye on. Holland Shed I think she got an ACL, and she was a big part of what was going on in Seattle. And she started to finally get her footing from her time with the Sparks, then going to Seattle and finding her way. And now she's dealing with the knee injury. So, so you don't want to see that type of thing. The Phantom as well, part of the reason why their season hasn't gone in Unrivaled is because they have so many players hurt. So yeah, you want to see everybody remain healthy and have that confidence and that strong play and Unrivaled translate to the W.
Yeah, well, I got you there. As we typically close out the show, man, you got anything you want to get off your chest?
Man, it's always something. I'm a hater. It's always something I want to get off my chest. But no, what I really want to say again is, like we said, be careful what you wish for. Like I said earlier, if you want to see, let's make scoring, and when you people say, I don't want to see games where it was you go to a basketball game and a football game breaks out, or a WWE wrestling match. Shout out, I'm a big WWE fan, so by the way. But at any rate, you don't want to see that, but you also don't want to go to a basketball game and see a track meet. We got to find that happy medium, and sometimes that happy medium is not always legislated. Let these great players be great. Product speak for itself. We don't have to always insert ourselves from, and I'm saying this from working in the league, from a rule-making standpoint. Let's make this friendly for TV. Let's do all this. So we're trying to scientifically get in the lab and generate things that we saw happen organically. And sometimes we just got to let these great players be great. Let this stuff happen organically, man.
I agree, and this is my portion of last words. It felt good to be back, man. We've been dormant for a while, due to unforeseen circumstances. But you can always catch me on Facebook at Ivan D. Curtis. Trolling about it, movies, sports, or anything that comes to mind. But let's get geared up, finish out this, get ready for the March Madness for the women's tournament. And then, of course, the WNBA season is lurking. But let's keep it all jokes, man. Let's not be so serious, man. Let's not be so serious on social media, and different things of that nature, man. I think anytime anybody been on my page, I don't really do the back and forth in a negative manner. I may troll some people here and there, but I never get disrespectful or anything like that unless you started with me. But just stay tuned in. We're, trying to give you probably some bits and pieces or inserts, different topics that may come up. Maybe not full shows like this, but just be on the lookout at Troll King Entertainment at YouTube. But remember, I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.
I might swerve in the corner. Whoa, whoa.